where old and young come together, where people on the front lines of their experiences lead the way. This is Wisdom Shared. I am your host, Carol Blue-Weiss. Each episode features conversations with people who have lived their own challenges and who speak about it. They have come to share their stories on a podcast where connections inspire change and where we see the kind of wisdom that only comes from walking the path yourself. Today, I'm excited to introduce someone very special, Miguel Gabriel. What's truly inspiring is that 15-year-old Miguel began his career doing voice work even as he faced his own speech challenges as a young child. He eventually lent his talents to one of the animated characters in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and then more voiceovers followed. And then he was cast in the lead role of the feature film Camera, where he plays a young boy who can't speak. But through photography and a connection with a kind stranger played by Beau Bridges, well, you'll have to see the film to know more. Miguel's path is an example of how something you once struggled with can lead to unexpected strengths. Let's listen to Miguel. Welcome, Miguel, to Wisdom Shared.
Hello, thank you for having me.
What are you working on now?
All I can say is that you'll know when you see me on the big screen.
So mystery. I love it. Okay, we'll be watching out for you. At the end, we'll get all your handles so we can follow you. How old are you?
I'm 15 years old.
You're in high school, right?
Yes, I'm in 10th grade.
I believe you know several languages. Is that true? What are the languages?
I speak a little bit of Tagalog, Hungarian, Spanish, and a lot of English.
What's your background that you speak all those different languages?
Well, my mom's Filipino, my grandpa's in Spain, and some of my family are in Hungary, and they speak Hungarian.
What's your superpower?
I'd say my superpower would be kindness.
How did you get that superpower? That's a fantastic superpower to have. You're all of 15 years old. How did that happen, do you think?
It's probably because how I was raised by my wonderful mom.
Can you briefly summarize the movie Camera?
The story follows my character, Oscar, who was a 9-year-old boy with a speech disability. And he and his mom, they move into a new town and they try to fit in. And Oscar, he gets bullied a lot. And because of his speech disability, he struggles with communication and finding his place in the world. And then he meets up with a repairman who's also a photographer named Eric, played by Beau Bridges. And they form an unlikely friendship after being brought together by a broken camera.
What was it like when you got the script and you saw that you had no lines? Do you remember?
Me and my mom were reading it. We noticed that my character couldn't speak. And I was very surprised. I'm going to play a character who can't speak, but through visual expressions. But then my mom said, well, this ain't a challenge for you because you had something similar when you were younger.
Yeah, and were you disappointed that there were no words?
Yeah.
So what do you remember, like, what was your reaction, like, inside? Maybe you didn't even tell your mom, but you think you're gonna read a script, you're looking for your lines, and they're not there, so what was there instead?
Well, yeah, like I was trying to look for my lines, but I couldn't find any. But then I see my name in the description and I realized, oh, okay. Oh, I get it now. Okay. I see what's going on here.
And were you scared to do something like that? Maybe you hadn't seen many movies that were done that way. Were you excited for the challenge? Like, honestly, like, what went through your mind?
I guess you could say I was pretty excited. I was because it's a new thing for me to test out my acting abilities. And I thought it was a great opportunity to do that. And I wasn't scared. I knew I had my acting coach, Aubrey Miller, to go through it. And I just had to watch a lot of silent movies and just to rely on my own experience. So
Since you bring that up, the idea that what you've experienced in your young age, you were 9 at the time, why don't you tell the audience what you experienced that helped you find the courage and the talent to be that brilliant actor that you were on screen?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I had speech impediment where I couldn't speak my words clearly. So me and my mom, we went to a speech therapist and she suggested that I should take some theater because she noticed that I can't express what I'm saying through expressions and visual movement. And so I did. And after a few theater plays, it went away. Got rid of it. I overcame it. And I used that to be the character of Oscar, to hone in the character of Oscar, because in a way, obviously I could relate to him, but also that when Oscar, when he uses his camera, he is able to communicate without words, but through visual imagery. And I thought that is very genius and brilliant writing.
How you were as a child. Did you have a diagnosis that you know about?
I had a speech impediment and bone growth delay, where my bone, it takes time to grow. And that's why I look so small. That's why I kind of look like a 10-year-old because I have bone growth delay and I'm 15 years old.
Well, let's talk about what it was like for you to be a young child, different than your classmates. You said you had a speech impediment, so I assume kids noticed it, the teachers noticed it, that made you different. Were you bullied? Tell us about how that affected you as a person.
All right. It's going to be a long story, so brace yourselves. Definitely the kids noticed my speech impediment. And yeah, it definitely made me feel different than others, but I wasn't so focused on it. I mean, my mom wanted me to get rid of the speech impediment and she wanted to focus on me, which was very sweet. I got bullied just a little bit. One of the kids said I was a midget behind my back. I didn't let that get to me personally. I didn't let it affect me because I knew I didn't care about what other people think because, it's just not worth it and it's only going to cause trouble and bad things. Also, because I had tons of support and love from my family, but also for my friends. So when I was in St. Isidore School, I was very popular. Even though I was the new kid, everybody liked me because of how funny I was, but also because when I was very little, I had chubby cheeks. So I was cute. Yeah, people like me for who I was. And anytime someone is being mean to me, I learned that I should not let what other people say about me get to me.
You called it a disability, the difficulty you had with speaking. Part of that, as I understand it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was a type of stuttering. How do you think that affected who you are today?
When I was watching one of my old videos of me when I was little, and it was a video of younger me telling my mom about, oh, this is a dinosaur, this is a pterodactyl. And then when I was talking about the fun facts, I kind of, pterodactyl, I was talking like that. I overcame that. I am a person who is now more clear with my words and can be able to speak words without muttering or stuttering.
So you've already accomplished such a major thing in your short life.
I mean, I obviously had my sad moments when I was a little kid, but it wasn't because of the speech thing. I was pretty like happy and just chill and whatnot. So
Maybe it's hard just to remember what actually, as you were so young, what helped you the most. Like, who was your favorite helping person?
the theater person helped me build my confidence.
Tell me more.
If I haven't gotten that speech impediment, I wouldn't be an actor or be the person I am right now because I wouldn't have gone into theater. When I was in theater, it kind of went away.
But what advice would you have for kids and parents who are going through this, who might not have your supportive family that you had? And, no family's perfect. I mean, but you did have a supportive family and you had a good education and you had people that were helping you. But even with all that, sometimes kids struggle still, and parents also struggle to really want to know if they're really doing the best for their kid and if the kid's going to be okay. So I don't know if this is maybe not a fair question because it's a big question, but just whatever comes to your mind. What I don't know, advice is the right word. If you could say anything to help them think about it in a different way, maybe that they're thinking about it. What would you say? Just something that comes from your heart.
My advice would be have faith, keep going, never give up. If things seem dark, try to look things in a positive way kind of helped me when I was younger, actually. Yeah, keep going no matter what.
Your character, Oscar, in camera,
Yeah.
he got really sad and mad and got a lot of strong emotions. And you brilliantly got that through to the audience that you are mad, you are really sad, you're really hurt, you're really sensitive, and so forth, all these feelings. How did you find those feelings in yourself if, like what you're saying now, is like you didn't really feel so terrible, actually?
Well, we filmed the movie when I was 14 years old and I was a teenager, so teenager feelings, teenager thoughts.
So you went into those to real feelings that you did have as a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I just thought about my fears and what made me angry and whatnot. I just focused on that, so didn't really think about the whole bullying when I was in school.
So it was more like what you go through as a teenager that was more accessible to you, those feelings.
Yes.
Well, you did a great job. It was very believable. What was it like to work with Jay Silverman?
Well, working with Jay Silverman was amazing. He is a wonderful guy, great sense of humor, but also a very talented filmmaker. And I'm so happy to have worked with him. First day on set and the first time we met with the audition process, we instantly connected and I was able to get what he wants, as in like I'm listening to his notes, I'm getting what he wants out of, my character, out of my performance to make his movie come to life. And it was overall a really strong director and actor relationship.
For those of us who aren't privy to what a director actually does for their actors to get their best performance, I don't know if you want to give an example of a time when he actually helped you through a scene.
We were doing the last crying scene. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to spoil the movie. But it was the last crying scene of the day. And I was having trouble to cry because all the other crying scenes were all so natural and I didn't have any tears in me. So the director said, "Oh, come on. I just give me, just, just a sad face," because he knew I was having a hard time doing it. But then I said to him, like, "No, no, it's okay. I want to do this. I want to do it very natural. I want to have the tears." And then he was all like, "Okay, I'm going to let you do your thing." And I'm giving this examples because Jay Silverman, he lets the actors do their thing. If they say, "Hey, don't worry, I'm going to do this. I don't have to do this." The actor has their own process or techniques, and and the director, like Jay Silverman, they let them do their thing. But another example would be if we were doing a scene where I had to react and express an angry, sad emotion. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. I remember I was also having a hard time. So Jay Silverman just told me, the scene, like, "Okay, I want you to get angry. Is the scene where you got rejected by Eric. And this is a pivotal moment, so I want you to get angry and get sad." And then I did listen to what he said. And then when we got that perfect take, it was like, "Fudge, yeah." But instead of fudge, it was the F word. And then another example would be there's a scene where I'm supposed to be looking around for something, and then, but panically because, again, I don't want to spoil the movie, you'll know when you see it. And then Jason was telling me, the director and also the cinematographer, Andrew Jarrett, they were telling me, you know, what movement should I do? What direction should I go to? Should I just be all like, yeah, so they told me the directions and I listened and then they all liked it and they were very impressed how well I did, listening to the notes and directions.
Yeah, I mean, they must have been just very relieved that you were able to do so much with your raw talent without words. I mean, if they had to be your part, they probably couldn't have done it. So they kind of had no clue, maybe, like how they knew what they wanted, maybe, but maybe they didn't they don't know how to tell you because that has to come from inside of you, I'm guessing, right?
Hmm.
So well done. You're working with some major actors there. Were you nervous? Like it's like your first feature film, indie film. How was it working with actors like Beau Bridges and Bruce Davison?
Well, for one thing, it was an honor to work with them. Again, they're very talented and they're very actually nice people. Actually, I was a little bit worried because I've heard all those stories about actors, in toxic movie sets and whatnot. But thankfully, all those like big stars that I was working with were not like that. They were very humble. very kind and very welcoming and very fun to hang out with and to talk to, and to hearing their acting stories was is it's very wonderful to hear, and just to bond with them, and to, like, to the point where we're friends, but also family. It was an experience I will never forget. And even though that was my first feature film, when I'm doing other films and whatnot, I will always say that that was my favorite. That camera was my favorite movie set experience. So,
You can predict that after your 100 next films, that this one, well, for sure, it'll always be your first feature.
yeah, also my favorite movie set experience. But yeah,
I love the dancing scene. Do you like to dance?
I love to dance. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I can do hip hop. I can tap dance. I'm learning. It's a beginner tap dance. I do improv dance, and dancing is really fun. Actually, it's fun for the soul. Anytime I'm playing music, if there's a certain beat that I like, I just do a certain move.
Can you articulate? I mean, this might not be a fair question either, but can you articulate what it is about dancing that's different from anything else, and that gives you that feeling that dancing gives you? What is it about dancing?
I think what dancing is for me is that it's very expressive. Dancing can tell a story. It can tell you what you're feeling in the moment through movements, and when you're listening to music, dancing, when you're listening to the beat, when you're just having fun, it can feel like you're having the rush of your life.
Do you have a favorite song?
So many. Currently, right now, my favorite song is Love is Strange.
How does that go?
Love is strange. Yeah, another favorite song of mine is Benny the Jets and Dirty Laundry and Hip to Be Square. For Benny the Jets, they go Benny and the Jets. And then Dirty Laundry goes like, they love dirty laundry. And Hip to Be Square, it goes like, it's hip to be square. It's hip to be square.
Mm, love it. And if you could play any instrument, what would it be?
The drums.
I was going to guess that just by your mannerisms, like what you chose, which instrument you chose to focus on when you were demonstrating. This is audio, so people can't see your hand gestures, but you were doing a lot of drumming.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. What are your interests besides acting? Do you have any thoughts about going to college?
Yeah, I would like to go to the college. I think it's USC where Steven Spielberg and George Lucas went, because I want to be a filmmaker. I want to direct, write, edit, and maybe a visual effects artist, or maybe even like be an employee or the CEO of like my own movie business, or an employee of an existing movie business like Disney or Warner Brothers. Yeah, like get some experience, like just fully just trying out new things in the movie industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happen to be making my first independent documentary film. So
Yay!
I wish I started younger. I'm a little older than you.
Well, it's never too late to start anything. It's never too late to start.
Thank you. Thanks for that vote of confidence.
Of course.
The idea that you had done voiceovers, I find very, I don't know, what's the word, metaphorical, poetic, that here's someone who had difficulty speaking ends up being a professional voiceover actor in Hollywood. So tell us a little bit about that in terms of how that came to be and what was your experience. Just, obviously it's a long story, but just give us a little sample of what it was like.
Well, when I was working on Puss in Boots: Last Wish with voiceover work, first of all, the experience was really fun, and it's definitely very different from acting, of course, because first of all, you get to look at the script and just see the lines, the depends on what your character is going through, but also if the scene is supposed to be scared, then and your character is like being scared, and you'd be like, and you like have to make sure it goes with the animation of the lips and all that stuff, and how you just have to give it your best voiceover performance. And even though I like voiceover, I kind of still prefer like live action, just seeing my face and whatnot. But I do like voiceover.
When you went for your first audition for anything really, you could decide in your head which one you want to talk about. I imagine you had to be really nervous. So how did you talk to yourself out of that, being nervous?
My very first audition, I was half nervous and half excited because I get to show you who I am, show you my talents, and be the character. And it was very exciting to be in the world of the movie industry, to be an actor in the acting industry. So I was very excited for camera. I was very nervous, and because after being rejected for so many auditions, I'm like, all right, I'll keep my little expectations this time. But then as soon as I got the call back and the call back again, and meeting the director, I was very, very relieved and very happy that I finally booked a feature length film. And to be on set was a whole different experience because I've done two commercials and one animated movie. And the two commercials, the set was limited because we were doing like in one location, and the animated movie we were doing in the studio, and on the movie set we were going to different locations, different days, different environments, different experiences, and I thought it was very cool.
So you had a lot of rejections. It's good to hear you say that because you're willing to talk about the times when it wasn't so positive. Because if everything's positive, then sometimes that can make other people feel like, oh, what's wrong with me? Because I don't get everything I apply for. I'm not the most popular kid. I'm not the. But sometimes it doesn't have to start that way, right?
Yeah, because to know how you got rejected in the audition is when you don't get an email. you know, like you sent in your audition and a few days later you don't get an email back. That's a sign of you didn't get it. But that's okay because what I do with it is I tell myself, oh, hey, maybe that's not meant for you. That's not meant for you. I know you can do better than that project. I know you are better suited for this project that's coming. You don't know when, but you know that you'll be better suited for this project than that project. Because maybe that project might be canceled. Maybe that project might take a long time to develop, or maybe that project will flop or fail.
I love that. That is so mature. It takes some people a long time to get to that. I love hearing it from you. I feel like, you're 10 years older than I am in a good way. I have a boy. I watched how kids are at the younger ages in middle school and what the girls do, what the boys do. And I saw that there was a lot of camaraderie just being an athletic child. And I was wondered, gosh, what's it like for the boys when there are, many, 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 many that don't particularly gravitate to sports, but gravitate to something else? How was that for you that in our society, there's this sort of bias for boys to be interested in sports and not everyone is?
Yeah, well, when I was very little, I had no interest in sports. I don't know, just never really appealed to me, honestly. And my mom wasn't very interested in sports because, like, football, you get hurt. I bet that's not fun at all. Baseball, like, you have to swing so hard, and anytime you miss the ball, you're like, oh, like, I just don't like competition. It just gets people riled up. So I was very interested in the movie industry. And I didn't know that you could work in the movie industry because anytime I'm watching movies, I always thought, whoa, did that really happen? Oh man, imagine you could be that, you could do that. But then, because I was younger, I didn't know. But now that I'm older, I realize you can do that, which is awesome. And yes, I was very interested in other things other than sports,
Are you in a school or how do you deal with your studies?
online school. And the thing about the school that I'm in, Calpac, is that you get to do your work on your own time. So if you're busy with something, you can do that task and then you can come back to your schoolwork and do it. In online school, even though quizzes and tests, you have a timer and you can really take your time and you have your own comfort space to do your own thinking because there's a lot of kids out there like me who have different ways to be able to think and to solve problems. Like maybe me is pacing around, self think that, but I can't do that in an actual school because I had to sit down. And I balance it just by scheduling and prioritizing and to see how much I've been working on school and how much I've been working on this and how if I need a break and whatnot. So
Wow, so that's another skill you clearly have is discipline and organization. That's really great to have. And what about friendship? How do you deal with that?
oh, all right. This is something I actually learned through experience. And that is having a few friends is better than a lot of friends because what friends are for is, especially best friends, is that they're there to support you, to respect you, to be loyal to you, and that and to respect your boundaries. And when you're when you're telling them and making sure that you're comfortable with asking stuff to your friend and that they won't talk behind your back or that they won't make fun of you or that they will be supportive and that and if you're busy and you can't talk to them you can tell them that and then they will listen to you. That's what I think best friend is. I used to have a friend who didn't listen to me anytime I have an audition or I'm doing something, I'm talking to someone, they just be calling and I tell him that I'm busy but then he keeps calling and so yeah, it's yeah,
It's complicated, right?
it's complicated. Yeah. It's also why I prefer talking to adults than to kids my own age.
How do you meet kids? Like if you're doing the online school?
I also just meet friends at my church, and like I said, having a few friends is better than a lot of friends. And I have adult friends and kid and friends who are my age too, so it's a
Right.
perfect balance.
Yeah, once again, there's no rules, right? I mean, as long as you know there are no rules. Usually kids feel that there's so many rules they have to fit in, but you've already figured that out that you can make your own rules.
Yeah, and you don't have to fit in to fit in. You know what I mean? Like if they're doing this thing that you know it's bad, you don't have to do it. You just don't do it. It'll be better for you. And you know,
Yeah. And do you meet other acting friends like when you're traveling and working on
hmm
these jobs?
yep. Yeah, whether it's through traveling or through work or going on a movie set or through calls.
If you could meet anyone in the whole wide world, who would you want to meet?
I really want to meet Steven Spielberg. I really do. He's the reason why I love movies in the first place. And ever since I saw his autobiography by a film, The Fablemans, about his life, in ways I could relate to him a lot. I don't want to say because I'd be a little bit uncomfortable.
So can I just say that if you ask me that question, ask me that same question.
If you could meet anyone in the whole wide world, who would it be?
Steven Spielberg. It's true. He's the one I would want to meet too, because I'm making a documentary film. He directed Schindler's List. And that's along the lines of the theme of my documentary. He's Jewish. He's very supportive of talking about the Holocaust and trying to help people remember so that people don't say it never happened. He's very much of an activist in that way. And I respect him a lot for that. He's interviewed millions of Holocaust survivors, and there's very few left. So he's done that. That was amazing. And his sister is also very active, and they actually give grants to filmmakers. So my dream would be to meet him too. I just wanted to say. And so, can we make a pact? If either of us meets him, we introduce him to each other?
Yes. Yes.
Pinky promise?
Peking promise.
Any advice for parents who are going through just the angst of, gosh, it could be having a child with a disability who's in school and coming home and having a lot of anxiety because the kids maybe are giving him a hard time or he doesn't feel like he fits in. Do you have any advice for parents?
Comfort them, love them, and take care of them always support them. Make sure you give them advice that they need to hear. Like if it's bullying, whether it's physically or through words, just tell them that don't listen to them. They're saying that because of themselves. Don't listen to them, ignore them, focus on the positive, or tell the teacher, stand up for yourself and have a tough skin and always have faith.
I love that. So that actually counts as giving advice to parents, gave advice to the kids in that answer. How about to the bullies? What advice do you have? Because you nailed it that you said they're not the happiest people either, even though they appear to be all put together.
My advice to bullies out there, don't take out your anger and your unhappiness out on other people. They don't deserve it. And obviously, you don't deserve whatever you're going through. So, whatever you're going through, make sure you talk to people. Make sure you talk to the person you feel comfortable with about talking about your feelings and whatnot. And whatever feelings you're going through, find ways to deal with it that's not taking it out on other people who are innocent.
Any last words you want to say?
Thank you for having me, Carol. This has been wonderful. Questions have been great. And to all those people who are listening right now, have a great day. Keep going. Have faith and always have a positive attitude.
I love it. Well, thank you, Miguel.
You're welcome.
What's the best way for people to keep track of you, see what you're up to? How can they connect?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at official Miguel Gabriel. That's my handle. And you can watch my movie Camera on Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV Plus and Vudu and all other streaming services that are available that has the movie.
Terrific. Yeah, I highly recommend seeing this movie. It's just good stuff. Good needed film, I think. And Miguel is absolutely brilliant, gives a performance that is unusual and heartwarming. And I recommend that for so many reasons people go out and not go out. You don't even have to go out, right?
Watch it at home.
Watch it at home. Forget the going out. Just push a button.
But still go out. Being in your home is not always good. Just need fresh air. And there's nothing wrong with watching a movie in movie theaters. Because that's how you get the magical experience.
Absolutely. Mix it up. Mix it up.
Little rant there.
All right. Miguel, thanks so much. I can't thank you enough. Miguel Gabriel is not only a talented actor, he's a thoughtful, kind, and deeply grounded young person. His words stuck with me, especially when he said his superpower is kindness, and that he got it from how he was raised. If you listen to his mom's episode, you'll understand more. Miguel reminded me that age doesn't define wisdom. His reflections on rejection, faith, friendship, and following your own path are things many adults still struggle to learn. Thank you so much for listening to Wisdom Shared. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to check out all the other episodes. Go to carolblueweiss.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like what you're hearing on Wisdom Shared, please spread the word and share this podcast with your friends. Leave a review and subscribe so you can receive wisdom every month. Thanks for listening.